Hey everyone, welcome to part two of the Victoria Verdeja episode of Searching for Success. Just in case it's been a minute, she was about to go into the story of how she met Manny and everything that came after that.
I mean, I know exactly. I met him on Cinco de Mayo, my senior year of college. My best friend introduced me to the love of her life, and it was him,
Oh my gosh.
her older brother's best friend. And when I met him, I was like, he's cute, but like, no pa tanto, you know? So we get invited on the boat with them. Mind you, she was, I think, 16. I was 18, and they were 22. And we go to the sandbar on the boat for Cinco de Mayo.
Wait, so this is high school, right?
Yeah, senior year of high school.
I think you said senior year of college, but high school.
Oh,
Okay.
I did. Oh, my bad. I'm having heart palpitations talking about it. But
Well, we don't have to. We can.
no, it's good. It's a chapter of the book. Actually, it's funny. I've been exploring this idea of writing a book. It's for me more than anything, but it's first of all helps me organize my thoughts. Second of all, it helps me. I'm scared I'm going to forget, so I write it down.
That's why I keep a journal.
Yeah.
I'm terrified I'll forget the good stuff.
Yeah, same. Well, there's bad stuff too, but.
Oh.
And then the third thing is it helps me explain what I went through, because with the exception of the two roommates I had at the time and my dog and my parents to an extent, nobody really knows. So anyways, that was Cinco de Mayo. I left to UF like 2 months later, but we had a little thing going. And then I left to UF, and then every time I'd visit Miami, which was a lot, we'd hang out. And then towards the end of my freshman year at UF, we started dating what I thought was more seriously. But he was so hot. So hot. So out of my league. And was the kind of person, when he walked into the room, everybody turned around. It was a presence. Like it was, and everybody, I only met one person that didn't like him, and it's because he thought that his girlfriend was trying to get with him. So Cinco de Mayo 2013, then I go to UF. We're like on and off for like a year. We make it official-ish. Actually, I tried to, and he was like, being a player. I still have all these text messages.
Hey, but did your friend try to get with him before you got with him?
No. So, no. It came there actually. So, there came a point in time where I stopped. Like, I wasn't, like, nothing physical was going on because I just felt like I betrayed her.
Yeah.
And I felt
get
bad.
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, we can be friends. And then it got to a point where I was talking to her openly about it, and she was like, look, and I remember this shit verbatim sometimes. Like some of these things, there's some things that I don't remember at all, and then some things I remember verbatim. Yeah. And I remember she said, look, of all the pieces of shit that you've been hanging out with, this guy is amazing. And he really, he really likes you. So go
That's
for it.
amazing.
And
that's a good friend.
I love her. I love her for that, really. I mean, think about, I'm here.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe it was never part of her story that maybe she wouldn't have been able to handle it how you handled it.
No. I protected her throughout the entire thing, but that meant lying.
Not that I'm an advocate for lying, but...
You're not an advocate for lying? I lied to his face every single day for 2 years. Really? And I said, you're going to make it. My hand is shaking.
Why? I'm sorry. We don't have to go too deep into any of that stuff.
I wanted to talk about it.
All right. Then I'm here for it. You have all of my attention. One thing that you said was that you lied to him every single day, saying that he was going to make it. And I don't think that's necessarily a lie. I mean, looking back, it doesn't matter, because if you fully believed that that's what the outcome you wanted, that's what you guys were working towards, it's not a lie.
I really believed it until, I would say, I don't know what to tell you. I like brainwashed myself into believing it. Like, I really think that there was still some level of surprise when my mom woke me up.
Wait, what? You weren't there? You found out from your mom?
No, I think you waited for me to leave. You asked about the family, and it's an it's a loaded topic. Nobody knows what I went through better than his mom. She and I both did the dirty work, but I was in Gainesville. Like, I was back and forth literally as much as I physically could. But she was there every day, and he gave me the credit. We did bump heads a little bit towards the end, and it got to the point that I had to sit down with her. I know exactly where we were. I don't remember exactly how I brought it up, but I was like, why are you telling him that I'm gonna leave him? And at
That's
the
what she was
time, I
saying?
was mad at her. And really, I think that she was giving me my out. That, and also protecting him in the case that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
But would you have ever taken that out? Because I don't think that was ever in the cards. At least from the outside looking in.
but Gato, if I was sane, I would have taken the out. It takes, I think, a little bit of insanity.
But I think you and I are a little similar in the sense that, like you said, when we love someone, we love them with our whole being. And it's not.
That was the first time I did it.
Oh,
That was
really?
my proof of concept. In reality, I didn't have to. I think she was doing a lot of protecting him and a little bit of protecting me. I said to her, for the one, again, I remember exactly, for the one iota of a chance that he makes it, if there's anyone standing next to him, it's going to be me. I said, I love him and he's worth it. And I think from that point on, like, there was friction throughout the whole, year. And that must have been maybe 6 weeks before he passed away. There was friction that whole time between her and I. Because again, like, I was fighting for for him living life.
Yeah.
And she wanted to make sure that it wasn't at the expense of his health.
Okay, well, both sides are valid.
Right. But it caused her worry when we'd go on trips and I'd drag his ass out of the house. I took him to Disney in a wheelchair. I bought him a dog.
Do you feel like you did that because you knew something inside you knew he wasn't going to make it and you wanted him to enjoy it? Or did
No.
you do that because you wanted to, I don't want to say pretend, but just like escape the reality for a little bit?
Yeah, no, I convinced myself that he was going to make it. And I think that more than anything, it was to make him feel normal. So he believed it too, even though nothing about it was normal.
Do you know how he was feeling throughout all of this? Because I know that you say that you lied to him saying that he's going to make it, but did he express what he was feeling or thinking?
He was very expressive. And only in like the last year did I actually look for and find text messages during that time. It still amazes me. He gave me all the credit in the world. He gave me what I needed to be able to do that.
It's almost like he's kind of the one that fueled your fire a little bit.
Not a little bit. I mean, 101,000%. It's kind of and this is why I write, right? Because it honestly makes me nauseous. But he really did give me what I needed to become the person that got to be his rock. I struggle a little bit because honestly, I'm like, this is the greatest thing that I'll ever do. People are like, oh no, you're gonna be a mom. You're gonna do the. Honestly, I don't want to do anything more greater than that. More greater. No, I don't want to do that. There was a comma somewhere there. I don't want to do anything greater than that because it just means more pain.
Well, that. So, do you feel like you don't want to? You can get married or have kids again, or not again? Do you feel like that's not in the cards anymore?
So more recently, and I feel like this is like my hormones screaming at me because it was like clockwork when I turned 29. I really do think that being a mom is in the cards for me because I think I'd be a great one. I had a great example. My mom is a G.
She is.
We're different. We're really different. But
your whole family is pretty spectacular, though. So
they are. They really are. And I would love to talk about that for a sec because there were so many people that talked shit about my parents for quote unquote letting me be in that situation. But it's funny, like, that they even thought that my parents had a choice because if you know me, you know.
Oh my god! I mean, this sounds so familiar. Like I'm getting emotional because my family's the same way. You know, they know Carolina's gonna do what she wants, so we either love and support her or we're out of the picture.
And that's never been an option.
Yeah.
Being out of the picture.
No, I know, and I don't know. I just feel like our family, we're both very lucky. Not a lot of people get that same example. I know what I have with them, and I love when I get to hear other people with a similar experience because it's less likely. I know your family, and they're just beautiful people. Like I don't know. I can go on forever about it, but.
Well, and I could do the same about your fam. I mean, didn't my mom teach both of your brothers?
It sounds right.
Well, we've kept up because my mom talks about it a lot.
Yeah.
About your mom. About you. I think half the reason I know as much about how you're doing is because, well, first my mom would tell me, but then I would keep up on Instagram. Maybe there's something to do with the algorithm, them hearing my mom talking about you. But
well, it's the same with me. I like the exact same. My mom would be like, "Oh, Yvette was saying that like Victoria's going through a hard time. Maybe you should reach out." And I'm like, "Well, I feel awkward doing that, but like I'm sending her like
good
positive,
vibes.
Yeah, like that's what I do because I've had the experience where someone reaches out of the blue, and it's so disingenuous that like I don't want anyone to get that impression from me. Not saying that I think you would have thought anything I said was just, blah, blah, blah. But I also didn't want to be like, oh, well, your mom, I heard your mom.
Well, I'll give you my point of view on it. And it's that you understand what it's like to be in that spot. And sometimes when people reach out, it's almost more work.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So I struggle with that too. Do I reach out? Do I put that pressure on them? Do I send a call? Like,
I feel like social media helps kind of create a little bit of a buffer for that, where like you can like or say, hey, sending like looks awesome, I hope you're doing great. I think that's even something similar to what I sent to you, like, oh, seeing your stuff makes me miss my life in New York.
No,
like
but
little things like
that's
that.
more than a like. That's real. But it's funny because my brother, and earlier we were talking about like birth order and years apart, and it's funny. I love that topic. I find it really interesting, but I had never thought about the age gap. And my brother, my little brother, who I really didn't like very much. He hated me. I didn't like him, and he hated me with good reason. Growing up, my brother became a huge support during the ugliest parts of Manny's sickness. And my brother would go to his grave every week, every month when I couldn't. And I almost feel like he was standing in for me.
Yeah. What's the age gap between you two?
4.5 years.
So that's pretty significant.
Yeah. Yeah, we only really started to get along when he would drive me. I was getting like weird panic attacks where I would like black out while I was driving. I was just under so much stress that like one little thing would like trigger my nervous system. I wore a heart monitor. It was a lot. Anyways, so my brother would drive me to go hang out with me and Manny while he was skin and bones. And my brother got the spiel on the way: you cannot cry, you cannot look sad. He's fine. You treat him like he's fine. And that was something that his sister told me the day I met her, a couple days after he got diagnosed.
Wait, so he got diagnosed pretty soon after you guys got together?
We kind of weren't really official until after.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's funny, I have all the texts. He goes from doing the typical player, oh, I have so much love for you, whatever, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, he's like, wait, I need you. And I mean, credit where credit's due. He definitely created a right hand in the, I think he recognized what I was capable of before I did.
Those are things I feel like certain people have. They can see what your superpower is before you can.
And I think it's why my parents did everything that they could to support me during all of that, because I really, really do think that they were proud of what I did for someone that was special.
If I know your parents, they feel the exact same way you do about it. That it's one of the best things you have ever done and probably will ever do.
I think they're kind of like, yeah, she did that.
You never know until you're put in that situation, right? Whether you are capable of doing something like that or not. But witnessing someone do it for someone else, anyone who has any kind of empathy can gravitate towards that and understand the depth of what you did and the value of that. That not everyone can do it.
I mean, in all honesty, I do feel like a big part of me died in all of that.
Oh, yeah, of course, without a doubt. But I hope that that doesn't infringe upon the love you can give someone else, if that's something that you want.
No, but that's the insane part of it, is that I keep loving people. Yeah. And it's sort of terrifying because for someone, I love you means something. For me, it's like, okay, yeah, I will dedicate my entire life, destroy my life for all intents and purposes. Like, I really do feel like I gave a massive piece of me that I have over the last, it'll be 9 years, have been trying to like regrow almost, but better, right? Like grow it much better.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all we can do in life. Literally all we can do is take what has been thrown our way and use it to make us better. Because unless we, cop out and leave this earth on our own terms, like having obstacles is inevitable. We're going to be constantly we're constantly going to be facing obstacles, things that don't make us feel good, that rob us of our peace, make us worry. I mean, it's just part of life, and everything that we go through and have gone through is supposed to shape us to handle them better.
Well, look, with the exception of people with mental illness, because I don't want to discount that, I do think of the choice to be here as something that, like, I saw what he did to stay. I saw how hard he fought. And
yeah, you have this invaluable perspective on it all. If I were you, I probably would have zero empathy for someone that decides to, take their own life. Like, are you kidding me?
Or like freak out about something stupid, or yeah, I struggled with that for a long time. Empathy at every level. And right now I'm like totally projecting because it's something that like I have to remind myself. Like you're a really strong person. Very.
You?
And it's funny because I remember,
Wait, are you talking about me?
yeah, you're a very strong person. And it's funny because I don't remember you that way
Yeah.
when we were 14.
Yeah. I
And
don't.
maybe you were the whole time and I had no idea. I don't know. But watching on Instagram, which we acknowledge is fucking fake,
It's a fraction of our lives.
right? Or a pretty picture. But there's something to be said about the facts, right? Like Instagram logs facts. I moved to New York. Seeing your journey and then hearing about things from my mom, also watching you be there for someone that was my best friend at the time better than I could, for me was something that I felt I could do a lot of learning from. I just think it's crazy, and we like strong people either butt heads or find each other, and I think that's what happened here. But it's almost like an opportunity to remind each other based on the very different experiences that we had to get here, that it doesn't really make us better than anybody else.
It doesn't. No. I appreciate you saying all that because I felt the same way about you. Hearing things from my mom and just remembering who I remembered you as and who I see you on social media, I'm like, I couldn't do half of the shit that she's gone through. Like, I don't know how I would be. And I was always in awe of everything. And I took that as whatever my opinions of you or anyone else in middle school were, they they tend to carry over into life because unless you have another experience with them, that idea of who they were is there in your mind forever. And
Right.
all I'm like, the only new pieces I was gathering were from social media or from the stories my mom would tell me. And that kind of started breaking down whatever hardened idea I had of you. We're all so similar and we all have so much going on. Social media is a blessing that allows us to connect and also to share. But we still, at the end of the day, don't know what the other person's going through.
Okay. A Baptist Health, 3 years on their PR team. But basically, I got to do some really amazing stuff there because it was the kind of place and I worked for the kind of person that didn't do PR for what PR people have a bad rap for doing. And it's sort of like spinning, twisting, manufacturing. What I learned more than anything at Baptist is that it's really important to believe in what you're selling. And we really did. And we do. I do. It's an incredible organization that does incredible things for the community in South Florida pretty selflessly in my experience with the people that I worked with. And it was hard sometimes because Manny's death was pretty fresh. He died August 7th, 2016, and I started working at Baptist April 2018.
Did you pass at home or in the
He
hospital?
was at home, yeah. I was home. My parents woke me up. I wrote about it in the book. There's a whole chapter about it in the book, actually. And this is part of the stuff that people give me shit for. But I went out that night. And I struggle sometimes with feeling guilty about it. But I'll tell you that one thing I didn't do was live less while he was sick because I didn't want to regret anything
Yeah.
that I did. So somehow I did a little bit of both, or a
I
lot of both.
I don't know how.
I don't either. I feel like it was an out of body
Mm-hmm.
kind of experience and definitely a separation of physical and mental and emotional. And on that note, like at the funeral, I read a passage, and I mean, my dad had given me a Xanax on the way, like a quarter, half of a quarter,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
tiny, on the way to the funeral, and it definitely kicked in at that point because I went up there and I stone cold read, sat back down, and one of his sisters went up and was like, couldn't even fucking get the words out. And I went out after the, first of all, when I got up there, there were people outside. This is Our Lady of Guadalupe, the new church off the turnpike by IKEA.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. The capacity is like 800.
Wow.
And there were people out the doors. And I went out there and I remember very specific people because of the things that they said. But when I tell you that I was smiling and crying, I probably looked manic. But you know what? I was so happy that people were celebrating him and idolizing him and crying over him. You should be crying over him. Like, I don't know if that's weird or sick, but it brought
No.
me so much joy to see the amount of people that loved him. And I think that if you're someone watching this from that, from the outside, you see this the sister hysterical appropriately. You see me go up stone cold and see me smiling at his face. It probably looked a little fucked up. Honestly, I had never imagined his funeral, and he deserved to be idolized.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me was a sick, beautiful thing.
That's definitely one beautiful way to look at it.
I looked crazy. I was smiling and crying. Like,
Yeah, I can't imagine what people were thinking.
people were probably like, this bitch looks happy that he's dead.
But again, no one knows what you're really going through. And I think you writing about it and sharing your side is going to, not that it matters, not that people need an explanation, but it is nice to get your story out and your experience. And because I'm sure there's so many people that feel exactly the same way.
That's exactly why I'm talking to you. I mean, beyond the fact that like we were overdue.
Yeah.
But it's why I want to talk about this as much as my hands are shaking and I feel like throwing up right now. It's why I've written things down, why I'm considering publishing this. I've made a website. Like, I can't find anywhere to find someone that understands what I went through, that's at least talked about it or published it. You know, the craziest part actually is that if you go to your local dive bar, and I have a radar now for this.
Okay.
I can't even tell you what the signs are, but I know them when I feel them. I guarantee you I'd find someone that gets it, that's never talked about it, that feels misunderstood, that doesn't have a place to go. You know, there's a book called The Hot Young Widows Club.
Okay.
That I bought, and I started reading it, and I was like, and this is years later, mind you. Someone recommended it to me. Very grateful for that recommendation because reading the book was helpful. But I got to a point where I learned that they have like a Facebook group for hot young widows. I applied. You have to like get accepted, and I applied, and they rejected me because we weren't married.
Oh my gosh.
And then and before I got rejected, I even wrote a letter to the author. Like, thank you so much. I finally feel understood. And then imagine the feeling when I got rejected because I wasn't like official enough.
Yeah. No, that is definitely frustrating. And I've experienced my share of that stuff, but
I said, fuck this at that point. Nobody's going to get it. And I stopped talking about it for years.
the same way that book helped you feel seen, your book is going to do the same for someone else. And maybe you don't have to create this Facebook support group and reject people. But the same, like, I think
I would never create a space where anybody gets rejected.
Yeah, it's like that's not fair.
Because it's all relative.
Yeah, exactly. But that book still helped you in some way, shape, or form. And just because whoever runs that stupid Facebook group is a see you next Tuesday doesn't mean that.
But did it hurt more than it helped in the end? I think so.
Really?
Yeah. I finally was like, okay, someone gets it. And then it was like, you're not allowed.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Your story, your experience is not bad enough. We were talking about this earlier, and it was empathy, right? So how I felt in that moment was that my experience wasn't valid or good enough or bad enough. Nobody should ever feel that way.
Again, this is not the same thing, but
that's the whole point. You got to let that go.
I know, but it's just frustrating because like these are two different things, right?
But of course it's not the same thing. I wouldn't be having to write a book about it if I could find one about it.
That's
you
true.
know?
That's true. I just like there's one thing about people who have lost their jobs, and there's so many things about how to cope from that. But then what there isn't is, what about when you live in the same house as someone who still has that job, who still gets to do what you love to do? Like, it's not like I could just, okay, forget it, I can move on, I don't have to be reminded of it. No. It was a constant reminder. It still is a constant reminder. And there's nothing out there on how to deal with it. Again, the therapist is like, that'll pass. And a lot of it has evolved, and it
won't pass unless you, I think, I'm not a therapist, by the way, but I don't think it'll pass unless you're able to come to terms with it and figure out how you're gonna live with it. Not past it, not forward, but like live with
it. Well, that's where I'm at now. So for a while it was the job in general, like just having this jealousy of him still getting to do the job. And now it's kind of dwindled down to just kind of one specific part of the job, like one show. And so for the majority of it, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with this. But then there's that one show that every time he gets called for, it's like I feel the blood draining. Yeah. And I'm trying to be better and feeling like when I know he's going to be gone for that show for a specific amount of days, I plan something. So like this time I'm going down to Miami. I'm going to be there. I'm going to see my family, my friends, try to stay busy. But it's really hard because there's a lot there, because the guy who kind of runs that show was my manager who let me go. And Blaze has had to work with him. And not once has he asked how I was doing, apologized for the turmoil he caused. And there's like this aspect of,
he can't.
I know he can't, but it's like, I don't want you to go and have dinner with this man and pretend like you guys are all friendly when he literally turned our world upside down. Like, because of him, I lost my job. We had to sell the house. We were I was in a depression. I was lost. You now look at me differently because of that. Like, there's so much that has happened, and like I can't express myself about it. And so like that show just has a little bit of extra trauma connected to it. But we're working. It's definitely getting easier.
I have two thoughts,
okay.
If I can share them.
Yes, please.
Okay. Again, not a therapist. Just a lot of perspective. First, like everything that you're feeling, I mean, you got to give yourself some credit for self-awareness. Like, that's half the battle. I feel like people don't understand why they feel what they feel. I don't understand why I feel what I feel half the time, or I didn't for a long time. So I would give yourself some grace for at least being like so self-aware that you're putting yourself, or you're trying to you've put yourself in a position to succeed despite the setbacks.
Trying, yeah.
Yeah, we're all trying. At least I'm trying. But the other thing I will say, and this is my opinion, this is how I feel about it. I don't think he fucking deserves to know the struggle that he caused you.
I know. That is a constant battle. Like, you know how you see all those quotes, like, the best revenge is just moving on and being happy? Even if he knew the depth of how much we suffered, I don't think it would make a difference. And I know that.
Caro, I know that feeling so much, and I want you to remind me of what I just told you. Tell me the same thing because I'm really good at giving advice and not taking it.
Yeah, well, same.
I have a best friend that I lost after Manny died because she talked shit about me for the way that I handled things. Like
Oh
so
my
much shit
gosh.
about me and I had no idea. And the worst part is that like for she was talking shit about me for a whole year and I had like a gut feeling and I ignored it and continued to be her friend and like it was confirmed like a year later. I felt so stupid. But the craziest thing is that I hope one day that she understands, but that would mean that she goes through what I went through and I wouldn't wish that upon my worst
Yeah.
enemy. And she it, dude, it hurt, it cuts deep.
Yeah. Yeah, betrayal is a bitch. I think a lot of this anger that I have just comes from that. Like there's a way to handle it. Again, when someone doesn't take accountability for their actions, it does something to my soul. And I think the biggest issue I have with him is that he never took accountability.
You gotta control the controllables.
Yeah, well, that's what I tell myself, but
I know it's hard.
it is hard. And again, like I try to be like, you know what? Part of the reason I didn't even want to say that I had gotten let go on LinkedIn for a while is because I didn't want anyone, especially him, I didn't want him to see it and be like, oh, she's suffering. Like I didn't want to give off this perception that I was upset.
But
Or
you do want to make him feel bad.
it was this like tug of war of like I want him to feel like shit. I don't want him to have the power over me knowing that he did this to me. Like it was constant. And I still feel that today. Like earlier today I was talking to Blaze like I want him to fucking feel the pain, but also what's the point? It's not worth it. There's like it just doesn't matter. So
It does matter. You're wrong. I don't say that ever, really. You're wrong. It does matter. It does matter. It was your life. It's your livelihood, right?
it changed so much, including my relationship. And that is what makes me angry, is that this person had that much power.
Power.
And that is what
But can I say that to an extent you gave them that
yeah,
power?
exactly. It's a frustration with myself for allowing that, and that's why I go back to what I had said at the beginning. Like for me, it's I need to detach myself from my job, because the reason I felt so strongly about all of this stuff is because so much of my identity was tied to that job that there's all this anger and fear and like, you know, finding someone to blame because of all of that. I don't know.
So then my whole I'm gonna get to the end here. You can fill the gaps in later. Last week I I set up a media interview between Dr. David Katz, who at the time when Manny was sick, what happened to be one of my best friend's fathers. He founded like the research college or lab at Yale. Like this
Wow.
man is a level of brilliant that it's like a pleasure to even speak to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that about a lot of people because I think I'm pretty bright. And I got the opportunity to talk to him about Manny when everything was going down, especially the insurance fiasco. And this man, he was like in the hospital at one point, like talking from his hospital bed on like a FaceTime about Manny, like fully dove in, trying to help. And it's something that I'll never quite understand, but I'm so grateful for. And some shit went down with the insurance company and the hospital, and basically we got a phone call saying shut the fuck up, which I can't get too far into it.
Yeah.
But and I couldn't tell him why,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that if I told him, it would only
Escalate things.
fuel him, because and he'd be right.
Yeah.
But I couldn't put Manny and his doctor, who is amazing, at risk.
Yeah.
So that was hard. That was in 20, what, 15, 16. So I'm in New York, pharmaceutical and biotech agency paid to relocate me up here. And one of my clients is in cell and gene manufacturing. This was one of the treatments that we talked about when Manny was sick. And to really dumb it down, basically, what they do is so currently, traditional cancer treatments, chemo, radiation, they kill everything, good and bad cells. They actually say it's not about surviving the cancer, it's about surviving the treatment.
That's what I've heard that.
So, what cell and gene therapy does is basically take your own cells, train them how to fight the cancer you have, and then my client has a tool that mass produces these cells to put it back in your body as a viable treatment.
Wow.
So, I found myself last week on a call with Dr. David Katz and the CEO of the company that's my client, talking about 9 years later, something that maybe could have saved Manny. And so you asked a really long time ago how I got to New York. I didn't get here yeah, to an extent, I worked my ass off to get here, but did I know I was going to get here? No. Did someone else get me here? No. But somehow it's exactly where I need to be to make a difference with the tools that I have as a skill set to change someone's life so someone doesn't have to go through what I went through. Talk about a full circle.
Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to what we were saying, that like sometimes the universe works itself out to put us where we need to be. And it's almost like the stars align for you to be there, to experience this, to like, you learned as a caregiver to Manny what is needed. And now you're going gung-ho about this particular, or just what you're doing to help spread awareness, to help ensure that more people don't go through what you went through.
Yeah, and I can't go without saying, and I haven't quite sorted through this, and this is maybe controversial. I don't know. We're in 2024. But, you call it the stars aligning and the universe, but Manny would have called it God.
Well, yeah.
And I'm a little mad at him after everything that transpired as far as his suffering, Manny's suffering.
You're mad at God?
Yeah. But at the same time, he made me know, oddly enough, but Manny made me know that whatever happened was part of the plan. And so going back to the days, weeks, months, years following his death, I guess people thought, what they thought about what they would do in my situation and maybe expected me to just maybe fall apart. And I wanted to. If I was going to do him justice, I couldn't. Because he made me know that whatever happened was supposed to happen. I used to do that. I hated sleeping when I was growing up. And what would put me to sleep was thinking about what I wanted, envisioning what I wanted to happen. A lot of times it had to do with volleyball.
I remember.
Envisioning us winning, envisioning me singing something, envisioning prom, the party that I had on Friday, how it was going to go. That's one of the fundamental things that has changed for me since Manny, is that I dream, I would go to sleep thinking about us getting married, having kids, all this stuff. And then after he died, there came a point in time, actually, while he was still alive, but towards the end, that I stopped dreaming because I was scared of what was gonna happen. And I haven't, I haven't gotten to a place where I could do that again. I fall asleep with the TV on.
Yeah, I get that. And you know what? I think it'll come again at some point.
Now I'm starting to.
Well, that's great.
So now I'm starting to. Last night, I was dreaming about how my presentation was going to go today. And then I woke up in a panic at 5:30 in the morning. It went well,
That's good.
but
Yay.
I'm kind of starting to again. And I think I needed to exit Miami
Mm-hmm.
to have new settings for my dreams.
Yeah. And you're in a city where there's so much that can happen. They always say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And
New York is fucking terrifying,
it's
first of all.
it's a scary place. People are mean. No one gives a fuck about anyone but themselves. But it's such a good place to learn who you are, what you want, what you're capable of, what you're not capable of, learning new skills.
But look at
Sharp.
PR specifically. Somebody could argue against this, but I think that the best PR in the world comes out of New York.
I can see that. There's
And
so
I wanted to do it here.
Well, you said earlier, like, you don't want to do something unless you can do it the best.
Well,
And there you go. You're on that path.
it's been hard, but I think all the things that I've learned throughout the experiences so far that I've had, the hard ones, the harder ones, this is the culmination of all of that. And that media interview last week, that was just enough to keep me going.
Those are the little things that I hold on to. I got a lot of them when I was in New York, and I remember I did this like little, what's the word, like homework workshop thing, where you have to write the five times where you felt your absolute best, where you can conquer the world, where you just felt confident and happy, fulfilled, whatever. And one of the times that I wrote about was just walking in the streets of New York when I was coming home from work and going to my apartment. There's so many times where just being in that city, and because I had wanted to go there for a long time, like years dreaming about living in New York City, like that is where I'm going to be at some point. And I had gone at one point in, I think it was 2017, to live with a boyfriend at the time, and ended up going up in flames. I came back to Miami, and so I always said I'm gonna go back, but on my own terms. And I ended up doing it, and I got a job offer, and within 2 weeks I had to find an apartment and move up there, and I did it, and it was such an amazing time. And that time is what I think about as one of my top moments. Like, I wanted to make that happen, and I made it happen. And I just figured out a way to do it. And I just would remember walking around and feeling so confident. And I didn't date that entire time that I was there. It was just me, my career, feeling independent again. And it's just those moments that I would hold on to even after I left. Because I had to move once COVID hit. I went back to move in with my parents, was living there, moved in with my friend because I couldn't live with my parents. Because once you move out and you can't move back in, it's just a mental problem.
Yeah.
But I would just hold on to them and be like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to feel independent again. This is temporary. And that is what helped me get out of my depression this time around too. But
can I pose a question? Because I feel like there's a lot that we have in common, but I feel like one of the things that we have in common is that we do hard things. Do you feel like perhaps we put ourselves in difficult situations because we feel like we deserve them? Like, not like almost like to punish ourselves a little bit?
Kind of like the people that are self-deprecating. They're always putting themselves down. I don't know, because I don't think, I've never felt this insane guilt of like I don't deserve my happiness. I don't think I've felt that way. There's this one moment in my head that every time I feel guilty about something, I go back to when I was like 8 or 9 playing Manhunt with my brother and like the neighbors and stuff. And I was hiding in my friend's bushes, and my brother found me. And I just started lying and said I was getting bit by red ants so that he could not tag me. And he ran inside, grabbed me water. I was like, Nana, are you? Because they used to call me Nana. Are you okay?
I know, I remember.
Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just want to do that to win. And I remember later that night, I mean, I was still young enough that my mom was bathing me. So I remember sitting there and crying and saying, I feel so bad that I lied to Gordo. I used to call him Gordo. And that was probably the first, I mean, maybe not, but the first memory I have of ever feeling guilty was that moment. So I don't associate needing to go through hard things with some kind of guilt that I need, that I deserve. But I've always been told that I'm super hard-headed. And even with my 2 ex-boyfriends, my dad was always like, why do you let these guys walk over you when you're so strong, and it's almost like you're a different person with them? And that's something that I've been trying to dissect.
Because we're so fucking tired of being strong that it's like looking for an opportunity to like
That's true.
almost be like a pushover, except that I don't relate.
Oh yeah, however things, and that was my Achilles heel. Like I would get with these guys that would not treat me right, and then I would sit there and fight, and it was not right. It was just bad.
I gotta say, I've been really lucky in that I have fantastic taste. Because sincerely, I think every boyfriend, guy that I called my boyfriend that I've ever had in my life, and I had a lot of them, which I'm sure you remember, but real ones, like, they've all been really amazing people, like really amazing people.
Have been lucky. I don't know what is up with my radar. Now it's nice.
I have been lucky, but then I like kind of, I'm not that nice to them, and then I feel bad about it. So
Well, that's what I was always told, that I needed to be mean to the guys I
okay, so
dated.
maybe if we like work
Switched.
together, we could be better girlfriends. Well, I need
Yeah.
a boyfriend to be a girlfriend.
Yeah, maybe. So, what does the future look like to you? Like, what is success now for Victoria in New York?
Well, I don't know if success is Victoria in New York, for the record. I think that I got promoted in 60 days.
Which is unheard of.
And that for me was this like massive validation, which has propelled my desire to do more and to learn more at the place that I'm at, to make it the best that it could be. Because the opportunity that I've been given here is huge in the sense that they've given me everything I need to take this where I want to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Not me alone. I have literally the most amazing colleagues and mentors there. But I always knew that I wanted to do my own thing. But I wasn't, like I said earlier, whatever I do it well. And I knew that if I was going to put my name on it or my family's name on it, there was only one option, and it was to succeed. And I think I'm learning exactly what I was missing here in this opportunity in New York at this agency with these people, with these clients. And I'm nowhere near learning what I need to know, to do my own thing. But I know that I'm getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And the hours are long. People in New York work like a
Non-stop.
work I've never seen before in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always sort of relied on the fact that I have good ideas. So I have better ideas than everybody else. I don't have to work that hard. It worked for a long time. Doesn't work here. So you got to work really hard for a long time and have great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, like I said, I'm exactly where I need to be to learn what I need to learn, to work how I need to work, so that when the time comes, and it will, that I do my own thing, It's going to be great.
New York is a magical place.
It's a smelly place, let's be honest.
No, it's gross, but there's a lot of hidden gems there. And I think that's what I appreciate about it too, is that it can be messy and gross and be filled with crazy people, but there's so much good that's out of there too.
You know, my favorite thing about it is that you can walk to the corner and gain perspective.
Oh, yeah.
I think in Miami, especially, I mean, if you're born and raised there, especially, and that's my perspective, you only know so much.
Mm-hmm.
You only see so much. But I think what makes you smart is the collection of perspectives. And that's why listening is so important, even though I know I'm bad at it. But I'm getting better. I do think that the perspectives that New York offers, it's like nothing else I've ever seen in my life. And I think it makes us really good at what we do, that collection of perspectives.
100%. That's why I loved traveling. But one of the things I would use to cope with the depression is to travel. Because anytime I had a problem, I would go somewhere new and it would make me feel like my problems aren't that big. Like, what am I worried about? Like, it's all going to be okay. Things are going to work themselves out. And so hearing you say that is just validates that. Like, traveling is one thing, but if you're in New York, you don't, like, you can just, like you said, go to the corner and you'll see some interesting people that can help you regain perspective on your own life and your own situations.
I think it's exactly what I needed when I didn't even know I needed it.
Well, we're going on like really long, so I really am very grateful that you said yes, that you reached out, that you wanted to do this, because it means a lot, and I'm glad that it's hopefully bringing us together and we can be friends again in this new chapter of our lives.
I mean, it goes without saying, but I'll say it. The fact that, you know, you had the courage to do this, to me, is so, like, I have so much respect, so impressive. And it's been truly my honor to be a small part of it, and hopefully the beginning of a great success. So
I know how much that means to you to say that, so I really appreciate that.
But anyways, thank you so much for the opportunity, and for taking the initiative to you know, share people's stories that mean a lot to them, means a lot to me.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.